Hello, wonderful people of the internet. My name is Matthew. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Adventures of Tom Sawyer. This is my fourth installment in the Great American Novel series. A little tangent. When I was a kid, I was one of those kids that had one of those seasonal hobbies. You know, like where I would find something new and cool that interested me, and I would just go all out. I'd be super interested in it for like 3 or 6 months and drive my parents crazy with it. And books was one of those things. And I do remember collecting a lot of these, hardcovers with golden spines from Barnes & Nobles and never reading them. But, gladly, as you can see now, I am an avid reader. I love books now. But I always remember that there was this one movie, Tom Sawyer, 1938, that I absolutely loved as a kid. And I do remember, Tom Sawyer was the only one of my entire collection that I picked up and read from beginning to end and thoroughly enjoyed. So this is probably my first ever major reread. And I gotta say, while as an adult, this is no longer one of my favorite books, I did thoroughly enjoy it. Tom Sawyer is basically a kid who's being raised by his Aunt Polly, his sister Mary, and his stepsister Sid, and he goes on adventures with a bunch of boys in the town, and Huck Finn, who's, of course, the protagonist of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. This book, I will say, it wasn't as impressive as an adult as it was as a kid. I feel like this is more of a serialized adventure story of a boy having fun around the Mississippi River, playing house with a little girl named Amy Thackeray, and being mischievous in a kind of endearing way. And there's not much else to it. There are some interesting passages interspersed that almost deal with American life at the time in a way that I found interesting. There are passages about the church-going habit of Americans at the time. There's habits between little endearing rituals where the kids play around and the older kids kind of babysit while flirting with each other. There are also decent explorations of things like the obsession with Americans' rugged individualism, with the kids going on the river, going on a raft. And there are other interesting passages how the local government affects the communities, with Thatcher's parents and the judge. But other than that, I'm surprised how surface level this book is. This isn't a book that I actually have a lot of spoilers for. There's not going to be a very big spoiler review because there's not a ton of forward progression in this book. The movie version that I loved as a kid, I rewatched it. It does differ a little bit. Well, no, it differs quite a bit from the story in the book. Because if you're not familiar, basically one of the major conflicts of the book is that Huck and Tom witness a murder by a man named Indian Joe while they're grave robbing. And at the end in the movie, there's this big epic cavern showdown with him and Indian Joe. Whereas here, that doesn't happen. There's not a ton of conflict here. And while I think Tom is a decent enough character, and a lot of these other characters are fairly well drawn, I don't think that this is a book that's particularly deep. Like I said before, there are also interesting and endearing passages of America at the time, like the educational system. There's a pretty fun chapter where the students are doing their finals and their testing. The courtship between Tom and Amy Thatcher is endearing. But overall, it left me satisfied, but I was ultimately underwhelmed. It's worth a read, and I did really enjoy Mark Twain's style of writing. I can understand why he's considered the father of American letters, because the way he writes, it's not a very flowery prose, but it almost sounds like talking. You can feel the dialogue breaks within character's speech. You can feel the conversationalism that he really pioneered, at least in American literature. This is definitely a work of realism. So, all in all, I'd say this book is a solid 3.5 out of 5. Maybe a 3. It's not a book that I would probably reread anytime soon. It does have some iconic moments like the painting of the fence and stuff like that. So it's enjoyable enough for a read, but I wouldn't put it as a very gripping, powerful book. I suspect Huck Finn might be that. But all in all, if you're interested in Mark Twain, if you're interested in American literature, if you like children's adventure stories, I'd say give this one a read. It's an enjoyable enough time, and I think, especially if you have a kid, watch the movie and have them read the book at the same time. That's one of the few positive reading experiences I had as a child, and if you have any children, that's always an important thing to do. Give them a good reading experience. So, hope you're having a good day. Hope this video finds you well. Hope you're reading good stuff. And happy reading.